Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to completely flip the way you look at your kitchen pantry. When we hear the phrase processed food, our brains almost instantly jump to junk food, right? We think artificial colors, unpronounceable ingredients, the whole shebang. But here's the thing. Processing isn't just some modern industrial bad word. It's actually a vital, ancient science. It is literally the alchemy that allowed human civilization to survive the winter, travel the globe, and unlock flavors that honestly just don't exist in raw nature. Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're mapping out our journey from the basics of why we process food into the fermentation engine, followed by a soy sauce masterclass, a look at probiotics and enzymes, and finally, extreme preservation. So let's kick things off with Section 1, Why We Process Food. The foundations, basically. Think about the everyday staples sitting on your shelves right now. It really makes you realize that processing isn't just about food companies cutting corners. It serves some absolutely crucial purposes. We process food to extend its shelf life by putting the brakes on microbial growth, which is what lets us distribute food globally. We do it to unlock incredible flavors and textures. And, at a really fundamental level, we do it to ensure public safety at scale. Everyday techniques like thermal treatment and acidification literally eliminate pathogens. That is keeping millions of us safe every single day.
It is so crucial that we shift the narrative here and understand that processing exists on a massive spectrum. It's not black and white. It ranges from minimally processed foods, like, say, washed and frozen vegetables where there's almost zero nutritional change, all the way over to ultra-processed foods like soft drinks, which are heavily engineered industrial formulations. And smack in the middle, we've got processed ingredients like flour and processed foods like canned tomatoes. Understanding the spectrum is key to knowing exactly what you're putting into your body.
Moving right along to Section 2, the fermentation engine. Let's look at nature's own bioprocessing. So, what exactly is bioprocessing? Well, it's defined as using living organisms or their enzymatic components to carry out industrial or food production processes, basically transforming raw materials into something way more valuable. The big takeaway here is that bioprocessing is this ultimate sweet spot, the convergence of sustainability and functionality. Instead of building massive, energy-hogging factories to synthesize flavors, we're literally putting bacteria, yeasts, and molds to work. It uses way less energy than traditional thermal methods, and you end up with a naturally derived product that people actually want to eat. Now, realizing how fermentation operates in action is just wild. This isn't just food rotting in a jar. Fermentation is a highly controlled biological process. You literally have these incredibly active microbes working overtime, converting carbohydrates into organic acids or alcohols under anaerobic conditions right before our eyes. It's totally predictable, and it produces these incredibly desirable, flavor-packed outcomes.
And this really hits the nail on the head as to why fermentation is so globally important. Just compare it to conventional preservation. Canning, that requires a ton of energy to generate extreme heat and pressure. Freezing demands constant, 24/7 electrical power to maintain that cold chain. But fermentation, it's incredibly low energy. We're talking ambient temperatures and super simple, low-cost inputs. It is a wildly resilient method, which is an absolute game changer in parts of the world where complex infrastructure might be a bit lacking.
Let's see this in practice with Section 3, the Soy Sauce Masterclass, a deep dive into ancient fermentation. Traditional soy sauce is not just a condiment, guys. It is a biochemical masterpiece. It's essentially a multi-stage microbial relay race. Step 1 is koji fermentation. That's where a specific mold, Aspergillus oryzae, is grown on soybeans and wheat at about 30 degrees Celsius to break down proteins and starches. Then, in step 2, that gets mixed with brine to create a mash called moromi. Here, lactic acid bacteria and salt-tolerant yeasts take the baton, working in perfect synergy for up to 12 months to develop that deep, complex umami flavor. Finally, it's pressed and pasteurized. It's this beautiful, slow collaboration with nature. But you know us, human impatience eventually stepped in. We wanted it faster, so modern food science gave us acid hydrolysis. This is a total chemical shortcut. Instead of taking months, manufacturers just boil soybeans in hydrochloric acid for a few hours to rapidly break down the proteins. It's super fast, sure, but honestly, it ends up tasting a bit like a high school science experiment. The contrast between these two methods is just night and day. Real fermented soy sauce gives you this complex umami profile safely over months. Chemical acid hydrolysis, on the other hand, comes with some major trade-offs. The brutal acid treatment literally destroys essential amino acids, so you lose nutrition. Even worse, it carries a risk of 3-MCPD contamination, which is a known carcinogen. And the flavor? It relies on luvulinic acid, giving it this totally inferior, harsh chemical taste. It just goes to show you really can't rush nature without paying a price. All right, moving right along into Section 4, probiotics and enzymes. Let's look at these microscopic powerhouses. Enzymes are a fascinating double-edged sword in the food world. On the one hand, they're the ultimate agents of deterioration. They're the culprits that cause an apple to turn brown the second you cut it, or vegetables to go mushy, or fats to go rancid. But flip the coin, and these exact same biological catalysts are the primary drivers of fermentation. You've got amylases breaking down starches into fermentable sugars, and proteases breaking down proteins to create those rich flavors we just talked about in soy sauce. A huge part of food processing is literally just figuring out how to control these enzymes. And when we do control these microbes properly, the health benefits are absolutely phenomenal. Take kimchi, for example. Through lactic acid fermentation, the bacteria naturally produce organic acids, which lowers the pH. This creates an acidic environment that is completely hostile to dangerous spoilage organisms. But at the exact same time, it perfectly fosters these thriving, gut-friendly, dairy-free probiotic communities. I want to be super clear here. This isn't just random spoilage. It's a highly predictable, ecologically sequenced succession of specific beneficial bacteria. For example, in vegetable fermentation, a species called Leuconostoc mesenterides almost always acts as the initiator, setting up the right conditions. Then, heavy hitters like Lactobacillus plantarum and L. brevis step in to acidify and stabilize everything. These are these specific live microorganisms that actively contribute to our gut health and immunity when we eat them. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Extreme Preservation. Specifically, freezing mushrooms. I want you to think about a culinary tragedy I'm sure we've all experienced at least once. You put fresh mushrooms in the freezer, and when you thaw them out, they've turned into this sad, waterlogged mush. Why exactly does this happen? Well, the answer lies in the intense post-harvest biology of the mushroom itself. See, mushrooms are uniquely difficult to preserve. Unlike a lot of vegetables, they are metabolically hyperactive even after they've been picked. They respire rapidly, they consume their own carbohydrates, and they're highly vulnerable to microbes. But the real kicker for freezing, they're made of about 90% water. So when you toss them into a standard blast freezer, the relatively slow freezing process allows these massive intracellular ice crystals to form. These jagged ice blocks violently expand and completely rupture the mushroom's delicate cell walls. And once those walls are broken, the texture is just ruined forever. But there is a high-tech solution to this biological problem: cryogenic freezing. Instead of just blasting cold air, industrial setups use liquid nitrogen or liquid carbon dioxide to drop the temperature of the mushroom to below -60 degrees Celsius in a matter of seconds. It's an ultra-rapid freezing method designed to stop cellular destruction dead in its tracks. When you compare the two methods side by side, it's obvious that speed is absolutely everything. By freezing the mushroom that rapidly at -60 degrees, the water inside the cells simply doesn't have time to form large, damaging ice blocks. Instead, you only get microscopic ice crystals. These microcrystals are way too small to rupture the cell membranes. The result? Practically zero structural damage. The mushroom thaws out with a firm texture that is virtually indistinguishable from a fresh one. Which brings us to our final thought. I really hope this explainer has completely shifted how you look at the food sitting in your pantry and your fridge right now. The things we eat aren't just raw materials. They are the stunning result of thousands of years of observation, cutting-edge thermodynamics, and deeply complex microbial ecosystems all working in our favor. So the next time you open your fridge, I want you to ask yourself, are you looking at mere ingredients, or are you looking at the results of a microscopic biochemical masterclass? Keep that curiosity alive the next time you cook, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.